Alright, Diablo 4 players, let's go over what is the best way to get XP in the Paragon department. You want to try to hit specifically about Paragon 200 is the goal with most Diablo players. I've got a lot of stats and charts to go ahead and talk about and go over numbers, but I want to go ahead and start off with gameplay. If you're looking to get the most amount of XP, it is specifically doing the pit as fast as possible. Now, depending on your build and your state of the game, in terms of like how powerful your character is, you may not want to go to do the highest tier pit that your character can do, but instead do the tier of the pit that is going to give you the most bang for your buck, as in you want to try to do these in about 2 to 3 minutes depending on your build. And we'll go over the reasons why in a moment, but I want to show you guys the efficiency of what you should be trying to do. Another quick little bonus tip is that if you're playing solo, you 100% want to equip Subo. Subo will reveal areas on the map where it will show these little orange dots. So look at the top right of the map. You're going to be able to see the density and decide for yourself if this group of enemies is either worth killing, or if there's just, you know, not enough enemies, you skip out on the room. Because ideally you would try to do this in a group, but you are always as fast as your slowest party member, which sometimes, you know, you start off the pit and, you know, there's always one guy that's like, hold on guys, I need to salvage, I need to go ahead and actually, you know, repair my gear or whatever. They just don't hit accept fast. Ideally, honestly, you would have a good group, but, you know, not everyone has a good group. So let's go and go in. I'm going to show you guys how efficient you can actually play the pit and what you should try to do when you're doing the pit run. So for starters, obviously, yes, playing a meta build will definitely help, but if you run into certain monsters that have certain nasty mods that your build's going to take more than, let's say, like 5 seconds to do, you can see we just got a Paragon level. This is 100% your ultimate way of actually leveling up. And it comes down to knowing what build that you are playing very well. Obviously, that's going to take some time. If you're newer to a build, maybe watch some other people play the build so you can see like what buttons are they pushing, how are they, you know, progressing in the pit. And I want to show you guys how fast you can be. And one thing I'm really doing is I'm not even looking at my character. I'm looking at the top right of my mini-map to see where is the most amount of orange dots. Subo is a huge difference when you are speed running and doing forms of content in the game, whether that you want to do the pit to level up yourself or speed run and help your teammates actually level up maybe alt characters. This is a great area where you can see where the enemies are. You can kind of tell where there may be an elite pack, because usually it's like in an area where there is higher density. But again, we're like 1 minute in, we're almost done with this pit, and that's what you should want to do with every single build. 2 top fast builds I would say this season. This build is incredibly fast, as well as any Sorc build with good cooldown reduction. Lightning Spear obviously being one of the top tier builds, but even Ice Shards is quite fast, again, if you get a good amount of cooldown reduction. And you can see we're going to go complete this pit very soon. There's going to be a little thing that opens up, and we're going to go kill the boss. And this is where I'm going to show you guys how to save extra time here. And it comes down to basically being efficient at the very end. This is where a lot of people lose out on time. You want to open up this chest, and this is key. If there's any greater affixed items, you see where there's a little star, you want to pick those up. Everything else, most people at this point, if you're trying to level, all these items, if they don't have a greater affix, meaning that when they drop, if they don't have a little star next to it, it's all garbage. So ideally, you open up the chest first, so then your pet can pick up all of the stuff, and then instantly you want to go ahead and pick up all of the GA items, but that's after you lock in the glyph stone. So let's say we just finished it, right? And I open up the chest, there's a GA. Before even clicking on any of the items, I'm going to click on the glyph stone, and then visually I'm going to see where all of the stars are. Unless, of course, I'm playing a controller, then I'm going to have to, you know, sometimes it's kind of hard to click on the thing that you want on a controller. But then I'm going to upgrade my glyphs, and you want to upgrade your glyphs that are the lowest first. And the reason why is because depending on the pit difficulty, you may be able to get more levels on something. There's you can see where it says like the plus, you know, 1. There's also specifically the urns. Do not forget about the urns. You have a chance to actually get extra upgrades. Now remember that you could remove these at any point. This costs 120,000. It's nothing. Make sure that you have that leveled up as well in your season journey. That way when I'm leveling up my glyphs, I can get extra upgrades potentially, and that will expedite my progress. But at the very end, the thing that really is going to save you time, and I know it's only a few seconds, but you're going to have to do hundreds and thousands of these pit runs. So again, the order is going to be open up the chest, then click on the glyph stone, visually look to see where are all the greater affix items, because If it's not a greater affix, it cannot roll the highest roll for your aspect, which actually ties into your character's progression and damage. But after you get the upgrades, then pick up the items. Anything that is a non-greater affix, I'll be honest, if you want to be really efficient, just leave it on the floor. It is simply not worth picking up because it cannot actually give you an upgrade unless you are in the very earlier stages where you just need, let's say, that unique piece of gear, or you just need any aspect. But this video is mainly geared, as the title is, around Paragon XP, so I'm expecting you guys to be pretty much at the end game. But if you're in the earlier stages, sure, picking up the things is totally fine. But the later stages, you want to be as efficient as possible. You want to be super, super fast. But once I finish the pit, the next thing that I want to do is I want to open up the pit again instantly. This is where a lot of people make a mistake, and this is where a group really loses out on basically like maybe about a third of their time. There's always people that right after they finish the pit, their first instinct is, okay, I'm going to go over here, and then I'm going to go look at my items for 5-10 seconds. What you want to do is only get greater affixed items. If there's any missed equipment, if you want to, you can pick it up. And the reason why I suggest you guys to still pick up the GA items is there is a limit on how many missed equipments can actually show up, and so therefore you don't want that chance of the item to not show up because there is a limit, or if it just doesn't like work. So I wouldn't worry too much about trying to get your items here, because all of these items, because they are not greater affixed, they are essentially garbage. But what I would do, instead of going here, and normally again people would look at their thing, oh, do I got an upgrade over here? And then they're like, okay, I'm gonna go salvage, or whatever the case may be, or they're like, okay, I really want this item and I'm gonna go throw it in my stash, and then I'm gonna go do the pit again. You're wasting like 10-15 seconds, especially if you stop to read, is this an upgrade with my item? If you want to see if it's an upgrade and you're not sure, you can actually do this a lot faster. So if we go to the blacksmith and we see this little icon here where it has this little like white X, I think it's actually like some swords, but it will actually give you an upgrade. Now you can actually tell this without doing that. If you are like right here, if I mouse over, at the very bottom where it says requires level 60, you can see it upgrades the aspect. So, you know, unless it's a GA item, it's more likely not going to be an upgrade for your character, and you can't really trade it or sell it for gold. But if you want to save the GA items, save them in your inventory here, open up the pit, do another pit, and then wait until your inventory is full. Once your inventory is then full, then go ahead, take the minute and start reading your pieces of gear, and then going and then salvaging whatever you may want to actually salvage, and then save anything that you want to save. That is way more efficient, even though it's only 10-15 seconds. When again you're doing thousands of these, this adds up. But there's another area of progression, because this ties into partially progression. When you're doing the pit, you may reach a certain area where you feel like, I kind of hit a wall. What else can you do for your upgrades? The other areas of upgrades is getting better pieces of gear, but obviously that's random unless you're going on a Diablo trade website, which is highly recommended to do. But you can also upgrade your items in terms of getting more GAs on pieces of gear, but also getting your masterwork done on pretty much everything. And that is an area where you can get actual power as well. The most power that you're going to get from your character is usually with your two-hander, depending on the class that you're playing. Obviously, playing Barb, you want to try to max that out first over other things because the rolls are much higher. But now I want to go ahead and show you guys the charts that I was talking about before, because it kind of ties into your progression. So first thing that I want to go over, most people will not reach Paragon 300, to be real with you. Once you are at Paragon 284, that is the halfway mark, which is absolutely crazy, because you'd think, well, half of 300 is 150, but the way that the XP goes up, that's not actually how it works, which is pretty crazy. And there's actually a crazy comment over here saying that 250 is less than 15% of the way to 300. So I want you guys to get that in your head, that more likely you're going to hit Paragon 200 and maybe 220, maybe 250 this season. Because remember, this season, everything's a lot harder. It takes a lot longer to get your progression up. So most people will probably tap out, I'd say, about like 225. But Paragon 200 is pretty much what you need to hit for most builds to be as powerful as they really need to be. Everything else after 250 or after like 220-ish is more icing on the cake, but 200 is the area where your build starts to feel very powerful. But as far as XP goes in the game, the only area that you're really getting good XP in is specifically the pits, which is what I showed you guys for gameplay. There was this really good thing. It was made in season 6, but it was by Woody, and it's basically going over comparing all the different ways that you can get XP, whether it's nightmare dungeons, infernal hordes. if you want XP, the pit is everything. I just wanted to bring this up because I want to show you guys kind of just other data that other people have collected in the game that is relevant for this video. But there's another great Season 8 cheat sheet by Rob over here, and it goes over specifically how much closing XP that you get, because that's where you get your big chunk of XP. Even though we have an event going on right now, so now it's kind of a better time to log in, you get a 35% XP bonus from killed monsters. Now, that does not count closing the pit, which is where you get your big chunks of XP. You may have noticed this if you've ever done any boosting, like if you're trying to like power level a friend up, the big chunk of XP is at the very end, and that's why you really want to look at the closing XP here. So as you go higher in the pit tier, the monsters obviously get more difficult, but the difficulty does not actually make it worth it if it's taking longer. So just for reference here, this is like if you're doing like pits, let's say 70 to 75, you are getting a little bit of an increase, is less than 10%, but the difficulty does start to go up, and especially if you go up like 10 tiers, depending on your build, going up, let's say going from 70 to 80, it could take you maybe 3 or 4 minutes versus 2 minutes, and that is too big of a jump. So the thing to take away from this is go as high as you can do in the pit in under like 3 minutes, depending on your build. Because I know that there's some builds where like you just don't have a mobility skill, Necromancer, and you are kind of stuck there walking from point A to point B. So movement speed is kind of king here, or having a build that's very fast. If you really want to get those Paragons up, Rogue is very fast this season, Sorc is always pretty fast, but it's specifically the closing XP that you want to go ahead and get. And even though you could say, oh, well, the difference between 65 and a 150, I mean, you're getting more than double XP. Sure, but the difference in how hard the difficulty is nowhere near it. So keep in mind, your goal should be as efficient as possible with your runs, and therefore you want to kind of complete it as quickly as possible. But yeah, lock in Subo, go to the pit, and again, do not go and salvage your items and look at your items every single time. It is an absolute big area where you're slowing down, or some people even like they spend their obols as soon as they get them. Wait until your obols become full, and you can notice when they're full. You can also put it in here if you go. This is actually a newer addition to the game where some people may not know about this, but you can actually click on what actually shows up in your little currency here. You can have up to 3. Unfortunately, can't put all of them. I don't even know why I have red dust, but you can actually put I would probably recommend gold obols and spectral ash are the most realistic ones that you can actually throw on your character. But specifically just getting the obols, remember that you do have an obol cap, but once you reach the obol cap, then again, go spend all your obols at once. Don't salvage every single time, then visit the obol guy. You're wasting so much time. Do it all at once, and I promise you will level up much faster. And again, the key with the pit runs is to be able to do as high as that you can go in about 30 minutes. If you're doing like 5-minute runs because you're playing like a really slow build, hey, I get it. But for the most part, that's kind of the area that you want to hit on average. Keep in mind, sometimes you may run to an area where you do the pit and like you got to backtrack and it sucks. Don't try to count those as like, you know, your timer when it comes down to getting those like 3-minute runs. That's where I would say you may just have gotten unlucky with a map. But also, make sure you guys are always popping these incenses, all these potions. They can really help out your build, whether it's to reach like, you know, 275 for, let's say, a Banished Swords Talisman, or any of these other bonuses for your character. These can really help out, especially if you're like, oh man, I'm not at the armor cap. You can actually use some of them, and there's ones that will give you like a bunch of, I believe like 300 armors where it's giving you some bonus stats. So you can actually make your character more offensive and actually go ahead and get your defenses via the potions and incenses. But anyways, that's going to wrap up the video. Hope this video and guide helped you guys out for efficiency and let you guys kind of understand that basically doing anything but the pit is basically not worth your time for XP. If you're interested in Obdicite and other things we can talk about in the future, but basically if you want to Obdicite, well, you can run the Tribute of Refinement, and then you can also do Nightmare Dungeons to get your Obdicite up, which is part of your progression with your character as well. And then also make sure you guys are actually picking up the Obdicite in the Nightmare Dungeons, because sometimes your build is so fast you're skipping out on it. But also the events in the Nightmare Dungeons are absolutely worth doing. There's also a mod on Nightmare Dungeons. Let me see if I can find one here. Is gold. Okay, there is one technically where it gives you more XP, but Infernal Hordes for some builds is not that bad, especially on slower builds for XP. But overall, if you just want raw XP, the pit is like the only way to go, and that's kind of how you can be a little bit more efficient. And this way, it'll save you guys some time. Anyways, that's going to be it for the video. If you guys enjoyed it, drop a like, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace out.